Welcome, coins lovers. That everyday quarter in your pocket could be worth a small fortune. Some U.S. quarters, thanks to rare errors, low mintages, or special designs, have shocked collectors with their value. Today, we're revealing the most valuable and rare quarter-dollar coins you need to know about. Let's jump in. Perfect. Now we're stepping into a truly legendary piece of U.S. coin history. The 1965 Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it might look like any other worn old quarter. Just another coin from your change jar. But make no mistake, the 1965 quarter is one of the most controversial, mysterious, and valuable modern coins ever struck by the U.S. Mint. And if yours has the right kind of mistake, it could be worth upwards of $100,000 or more. Yes, you heard that right. Let's dive into why this ordinary-looking coin can become a life-changing discovery. The year 1965 was a turning point for American coinage. The U.S. Mint made a massive decision that rocked the nation's currency. They removed silver from the quarter. Up until 1964, quarters were made of 90% silver. But in 1965, due to rising silver prices and a national coin shortage, the mint switched to a cheaper copper-nickel-clad composition. That change created a frenzy. People began hoarding pre-1965 silver coins, and collectors started watching new coins like hawks. But here's where things get really interesting. During the chaotic transition from silver to clad, the mint made mistakes, and a few 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets from 1964. That error should never have happened. The silver blanks were supposed to be gone. But somehow, a handful made their way into the presses and into circulation. These 1965 silver quarters are now among the most sought-after and rarest modern coins in the world. How can you tell if you have one? Well, it won't be obvious. It looks just like any other 1965 quarter at first glance. But here's the trick. You need to weigh it. A standard 1965 clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. But if it weighs 6.25 grams, it might be silver. And that difference, it's worth a fortune. One verified 1965 silver quarter sold at auction for over $85,000, and others have been valued even higher depending on condition and authenticity. And yes, some of these were pulled straight from pocket change. Now let's talk about other errors that make the 1965 quarter so exciting. This year is packed with oddities. There are off-metal errors, where quarters were struck on planchets meant for dimes, nickels, or even foreign coins. Imagine finding a quarter that's smaller, thinner, or a completely different color. Those rare pieces can go for $20,000 to $40,000. Even more exciting are the double die errors. That's when the design is doubled during the die engraving process, causing details like Liberty or In God We Trust to appear slightly doubled. These double-die 1965 quarters, depending on how clear the doubling is, can bring in $5,000 to $15,000, even in lower grades. Here comes a coin that most people wouldn't give a second glance. The 1988 P Washington quarter dollar. Just a plain old coin, right? Something tossed into change jars, dropped into vending machines, and forgotten in couch cushions. But hold on. Because this common-looking piece from the Philadelphia Mint might just be a $25,000 surprise in disguise. That's the beauty of coins like this. What seems ordinary to most could be a jackpot for the few who know what to look for. And the 1988 P is a perfect example of that hidden treasure potential. Let's start with some background. In 1988, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 562 million quarters. That's more than 500 million coins. With production on that scale, the U.S. Mint was operating full speed. And under that kind of pressure, mistakes happened. Some of those mistakes escaped into circulation. And for collectors today, those rare few can be worth thousands, even tens of thousands. Now, the most famous type of error you could find on a 1988 P quarter is a wrong planchet strike. Imagine this, a quarter, but it's copper-colored like a penny. Or maybe it's slightly smaller than normal. That happens when the quarter design gets accidentally struck on a 1-cent planchet, or even on a blank meant for a foreign coin. These wild errors are rare but real, and one confirmed 1988 P quarter struck on a cent planchet, sold for over $17,000 at auction. And if you've got one in high grade, that number could easily hit $25,000 or more. But we're just getting started. There are also examples of double-die obverse errors, the kind collectors dream of. On some rare 1988p quarters, you'll see strong doubling on Liberty, In God We Trust, or even in Washington's profile. These double-die errors are dramatic and valuable. If you spot clean, visible doubling, not just blurry edges but true split letters and doubled lines, you could be looking at a coin worth $10,000 to $15,000. And in pristine condition, the price climbs even higher. And don't forget the off-center strike. These are coins where part of the design is missing because the blank wasn't centered properly in the press. If your 1988p quarter is off by 30% or more, especially if the full date and mint mark are still visible, you might have a real gem on your hands. One high-grade 1988 off-center quarter sold for over $4,800, and it looked just like a mistake someone would ignore, until they realized what it really was. Let's talk about another rare but incredible error, the clipped planche. This is when part of the coin is missing due to a mistake in the blank cutting process. A curved, smooth bite is taken out of the edge of the coin, and it's not damage. It's a mint error. A 1988p quarter with a clean clipped planche, especially in uncirculated condition, can fetch $2,000 to $4,000, depending on how dramatic the clip is. Now take a closer look at this 1996 D Washington quarter dollar. At first, it may seem like just another shiny piece from the 90s, maybe a little worn, maybe tossed around in pocket change for a while. But the truth behind this coin is far more fascinating than you'd ever expect. Hidden within the 1996 Denver Mint production are some of the most jaw-dropping mint errors and rare varieties that have made collectors do double takes and write checks in the tens of thousands. And yes, even a coin like this, which looks normal to the naked eye, could turn out to be a $30,000 plus hidden gem in disguise. The year 1996 marked the end of an era before the state quarters program kicked off in 1999. So while many people overlook these coins, collectors now realize just how important and scarce error quarters from the mid-90s really are. And the Denver Mint? It's notorious among collectors for some of the strangest, most collectible mistakes ever to slip past inspection. Let's talk about the mint mark first. That tiny D under the date. That tells us this coin came from the Denver Mint. And in 1996, Denver struck over 906 million quarters. That's a massive number. But here's what most people miss. Out of nearly a billion coins, only a tiny fraction had defects. And that's what makes them so incredibly valuable. One of the most famous errors you could find on a 1996 D quarter is the broad strike error. That happens when the coin is struck without a proper retaining collar, allowing the metal to expand outward like a ripple. If you find one of those, especially fully centered, you could be looking at $3,000 to $5,000, depending on the condition and how dramatic the spread is. But here's where it gets even more exciting. A few 1996 D quarters were mistakenly struck on foreign planches, coins meant for other countries. These planches can be lighter, thinner, or made of totally different metals, and if a 1996 D quarter was struck on one, its value can skyrocket to $20,000 or more. There are even confirmed examples of 1996 D quarters struck on nickel planches, making them appear smaller and with a much lighter tone. These wild mint mistakes are like winning the lottery. They're rare, strange, and absolutely unforgettable. And if that wasn't enough, the double-die obverse varieties are where the serious money kicks in. A small number of 1996 D quarters show strong doubling on the words "In God We Trust" or "Liberty," or even on Washington's profile. If you happen to spot even slight doubling with a magnifier, especially with sharp, clean lines, hold on tight, because that could easily pull $10,000 to $15,000 or more at auction. The rarer the doubling, the higher the price. There's also the die adjustment strike, where the mint was testing pressure levels and accidentally released understruck coins. These look faint, ghost-like, with missing details. One verified example from 1996 D sold for nearly $7,800, simply because the mint shouldn't have let it leave the facility. Even in high-grade uncirculated condition with no visible errors, A 1996 D quarter graded MS-68 or higher can be worth a small fortune. In fact, one MS-68 quarter from this very year and mint sold for an incredible $3,760 at auction. Again, for just a regular-looking quarter in exceptional condition. That's the power of rarity and perfection in the collector world. And here's something few people know. Some 1996 D quarters show signs of being struck through grease. This error causes part of the design to disappear or look faded, like Washington's face is melting away or the word liberty is barely visible. These can sometimes fetch $500 to $2,500, depending on how dramatic the strike-through is.